All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun. And today I'm going to be returning for a video to talk about comic books for a change. I've been trying to think about which book I wanted to talk about and did I want to be current? Did I want to, go back to the well? Well, the truth of the matter is I've barely read anything in a little while. I've been catching up over the last few months here and there to all the different books that I've been reading, and I still haven't caught up on a lot of stuff. So when it came down to it, I didn't know about Avengers Twilight. Like I said, I've had stepped away from collecting. I still have. I'm clinging to the very fringes of comic books right now, and uh, mostly doing catch up. But I saw this book. I saw that it was written by Chip Zdarsky, and I'm just a Chip Zdarsky fanboy. I don't know what else to say. I really like his stuff. Uh, I think he did great on his Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, moving on to one of the best Daredevil runs of all time. I can't say enough good things about the Daredevil run that he was on with Chichetto and other artists that contributed to that story. I thought it was fantastic. That it was just where it started, where it ended, just crazy. And then all of his other stuff in between with the Spider-Man story with the keeping the symbiote. I loved that. All of his independent work, like Stillwater. He's just fantastic. But like I said, I'm not looking to really get too much into comics right now, but I wanted to talk about older stuff and catch up on some things and other stuff. But Avengers Twilight, after reading it, uh I really did think that there's a few things that I wanted to say about it, just to like finally dip my toes back into talking comics for a second and give some of the people out there who did like the comic book content uh a little nod, tip of the hat to y'all that I'm still out there. I'm still thinking about comics. And I can tell you right now, Avengers Twilight. Um, and we're gonna like try, some of our new things here on the stream. Let's see. All right. I'm doing this all by myself, so I have to like see what things are before I do them. I wish this thing would pop up. Let's see. What is this? So professional. There we go. There we go. So, Avengers Twilight. We're going to be talking about that today because I think it's an interesting little book for me, at least, right? I'm a sucker for any kind of Elseworld, not in canon story. And they can bomb too. They can be pretty bad. We've seen some really terrible, books that take place, and there's a whole bunch of what ifs that no matter what anybody says, they're just straight up they're just dumb. A lot of those what ifs are pretty dumb in my opinion. There's been some all right ones, and I didn't even watch the second season of the Disney Plus show because once I realized that they were doing the MCU what if and not just what if in general, I was like, nah, this is okay, but I didn't even finish it. Um, but this is an Elseworld story I can get behind, and I know it's gonna ruffle some feathers with the fandom, but everything does. Everything does, man. This could be the most like I could have opened this up and it could ended up being like just such trite, cliched stuff, but like overall entertaining, like kind of how I felt about like All Out Avengers with Land and that book that like changed a few times, but just kept like a lot of action coming at you. And even that, like I was like, that's fine, it's all right, but it wasn't the best. But somebody would still find a way to like find the perfect, just fun story and be mad about it these days. But this one's not being subtle at all. This book is coming right out and taking some swings, some pretty big swings at things that are touchy. again, everything is touchy these days, but I like this Alex Ross cover, and I really like as much the Daniel Acuna art inside. I also, man, freaking okay, the colors in this, man. I freaking loved the art style in this book a lot. And there's a lot of different influences that I see that are all over this book, not just art wise, but story wise. I mean, it's another, near-esque future. They always want to put the word dystopian or utopian or whatever kind of thing they want to put inside these stories. But it's another like cautionary tale of near, things that are pretty close to our world, pretty much like worst case scenarios for some of the things that are going on in society. If things were to go a certain way in our government and our world and our society at large. And it doesn't pull any punches at whose side it's on. It's on the side of progress. People can call it woke, people will call it lefty, people will call it whatever. I call it like progress. If you don't think that progress hasn't been represented in comic books, then you haven't really been reading them. I don't know what stories you're reading. I'm not saying every comic is progressive. Not every comic book out there reflects our society. Not every comic is saying anything to you. Some stuff is just is what it is. But this book isn't one of those books, and it's here to talk to you and kind of shine a light. Throwing the heroes in into this version of their universe. I don't know what Earth this is. Doesn't sound like a very fun Earth, but it's occupied by a bunch of aging heroes that are slowly dying off in a world that doesn't need them after H Day, which was an event where all their, like a la Old Man Logan, the identities and things were released by. This is spoiler heavy, folks. If you haven't read this book, go get it. Um, spoilers pretty much for everything in comic books. I'll try to like give a warning for anything outside of this book that I talk about that could spoil some other book. Um, but basically, heroes all got taken down. There's a new kind of Avengers out there. Not really sure what they're all about. If that's the real Thor, it's definitely not the real. It's not the original Iron Man, not the original Captain America. He's more of like the old man Logan in this. He's the guy that's, how a lot of people, I think, in a younger generation, especially now, would see Captain America is like, what the hell does this guy that, they see as glorifying war and the American flag and things like that. And what does he have to say anymore? And he's not even doesn't even have the super serum in his body anymore. But I also what else is going on in this? So he's just not, he's twilighting his years. He's enjoying going down to the and hanging out with an aging Matt Murdock and Luke Cage. Just doing their thing. The art really reminds me of a cross between a lot of different styles. Most currently, I'd say a lot of it like reminds me of some Rod Reese stuff from New Mutants, but like more than that. Um, but they're wondering about their place in this world too, because the technology and social media is overrun things. You got the cops. Basically, I mean, look, it's every decade is basically always represented in a way, and this book is no different, and it's just pointing out today's societal problems put in a worse context in the near future, just like in the 90s they did it about, in the 80s they did it, in the 70s they did it. Everything that is like this amplified version of what could go wrong or what is right about our world. um we've got characters in this book that are like the son of Tony Stark and Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp. And he's like the social media side of like things now, and Stark Enterprises is different. And he wants to like kind of shit on the old ways of doing things about like how things were before uh the H day happened. Like H day was a good thing in a way. Like it got rid of all the old ways of doing things because it was always, villains fighting heroes, nonstop, and the destruction that came with it and everything. And a lot of these solutions that they had were, the problems that they had were created by some of these heroes, like Ultron, created by Hank Pym. You know, the Hulk, the easiest scapegoat that they always have in these kind of stories. And Steve being, an older guy and like being pissed off, and like I feel like he's a bit of the audience of people that um see what the problems are, and now in his case he's literally powerless to like do anything about it. He doesn't have his powers. He's not an Avenger. He's just a guy now, he's just a guy with a name that, you know, used to, be somebody who saved the world, and now he's just a nobody to most people. Let's see here. Let's switch it up. All right, so like I said, I really wanted to point out the art in this. Take a look at this. I love the different color styles. I love how it it just reminds me of several different kinds genres, different artist styles, different time periods, the way that like how he's dressed and colored compared to everyone around him. Uh to show like, the different sides of like, he's kind of off being like not noticed while everything else is bright and shiny, and having the interactions about selfies, people recognizing him, treating it, him being cynical about it, because he is very cynical in this story. He's looking around at everything that they've lost and fought for, and here he is now just like, on the street having to just hang out in the park with his friends. He even tried to like become a politician, and he was resoundingly basically told, like, what do why would we vote for some old soldier, like who just perpetuates the status quo. um and his scene that he has with Matt and Luke in the park, there you can tell that there's something else going on behind the scenes, that they're kind of nudging him, kind of giving him crap for not being like as assertive as he should be. But it's like they're all a bunch of you're all just sitting there. But Matt's really doing something, at least in this story, representing a lot of people still as a lawyer. And it's one of those stories where the character kind of has to get nudged into it. He gets, more and more as he sees like the stuff that's going on. And one of the tipping points is where, just like something that would happen today, where they try to suddenly change history. One of the problems that we have right now in our world is people trying to forget, can forget history, make you forget history, or rewrite history, to like go, oh well, actually this guy, might have murdered millions of people, but you'd be surprised at why. And try to spin it so that something like Hitler and the Red Skull, somehow making the Red Skull turn out to be like more of a hero. Like he was actually working against Hitler, instead of like, no, he was only against Hitler. And I mean, and first off, fictional. This is all fictional for anybody who actually goes out there and like thinks about this stuff like it's real. Um, that the Red Skull in the comics was trying to fight Hitler so he could take power, but now here they are trying to rewrite history. Somebody out there doesn't, like the fact that Red Skull's a Nazi. They want to try to like change it a little bit to suit their own needs. And that's a pretty big tipping point for Steve in this story, where he just kind of is like, enough is enough, like things piling up. Talking about nobody caring, nobody cares about the truth anymore, and it, seeing like the corporate side of it, seeing that at Stark Industries, they're worried. There's already worry and talk about somebody that they know that needs to be talked down, and they're already talking about Steve, which means that they've still, like, Steve may be walking out of the business. He may not be a part of it, but he's still, you know, uh, in this world, and he gets trapped on these one of these like talk shows with Stark's kid, and it doesn't go well, this national tragedy day, and he gets baited in for every kind of thing and reacts in every possible way, because the guy at the, like, gives like actual uh things to think about mixed in with his really bad faith takes on things. Um, and we get this like he gets really upset and he gets kind of a flashback to H Day where they're going in talking about how everything all the bad guys are going after everybody's family, luring you out to kill you. And I thought it was really interesting. And I'm going to pause it again real fast. And I thought it was really interesting here. And again, I'm giving full spoilers here that in the pileup of this, one of the things that they took out, they took Spider-Man out like in issue 1. Like that his death on H Day was this huge thing because like basically he's the best of them. He's the one that was your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he's out there in the middle of all this when it goes down, and he's just out there trying to protect his Aunt May, and he gets taken out. And I like that as a gut punch to the world, not just to them, but like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is dead. He's just this kid, and leaving this also impact on the heroes because him, them kind of knowing that he's the best of them. And it was just that beginning of the end, but also a way for them to just leave him out of this story. And I think that that's good. I don't think Spider-Man has to be in every story, and to take him out this way, very symbolically as they do, is I thought it was really great. Um, then we get Steve trying to step up when he sees street crime. After this goes on, like he's having, after this flashback, and he's got these people who's just like trying to tell the cops that um basically the punishment here does not fit the crime, and you guys are just going too far. And he steps in, he's like, officers, I think they've learned their lesson, you guys should just move along. And he knows he's slow, he knows he's weak, but he's fought in wars and he gives it his all. I mean, he's snapping guys, he's throwing guys, but in the end, I mean, he can't. He's just Steve Rogers the man now. And all this for standing up, but then he's rescued. And it's pretty telegraphed. I mean, it's like as soon as you see Luke Cage show up in this and he's not dead, you know that Luke Cage and they do throw that he's the ex-mayor, you know that he's gonna be involved in something. But first you also have kind of this thing that reminded me of an old Norm Brayfogle Batman Elseworld story called Holy Terror, where in it you find out that they've got somebody hidden down like super powerful in one of their underground labs. And there's like a kind of similar moment for me in this when they reveal where that Tony Stark is actually alive. And here we go. So yeah, in this we find out that Tony Stark's son has got him in some kind of freaking tank down there. Still, I guess, kind of alive. It's somewhat. He's in like a Bacta tank or whatever. But I thought, okay, all right, the real Tony is still alive. We don't know like what happened. There's more to tell of this story that his son is keeping him trapped. But then we also have, like I said, we got the return of Luke Cage as like the resistance fighter. So he's back as the resistance fighter. He's all beat up. Like they talk about how his unbreakable skin, basically, as he's gotten older, he can't even move because it's he's so old he can't even move his own body because it's just that's a wild thing. I loved that little detail, but they also talk about that Matt's dead. Like they just saw Matt and Matt is dead trying to help. And I thought it was a little weird of a choice where these guys are walking around in black hoods. I thought that was a little bit of a weird choice. I know that there's, the old character from back in the day, but it just seemed a little, I don't know. It looked a little, it looked a little clanny to me, but I'm sure that it was not intentional. Maybe it was taking it. I don't know. I'm not going to dig myself too big a hole here, but I really dug it. Um, and it's a way to like, they've got the super serum still going, and this is his way of like, look, man, it's you can come back. We need your help. And Steve being fed up as he is, agrees to it and tells like but it's also like they talk about um and I'll read this part. Ever since my bulletproof skin decided to become nearly immovable, I'm all about the knowledge. Amy here's in charge, formerly of the new Shield, same goons who just whooped your geriatric ass. You're welcome, by the way. Matt died defending people who the system was trying to disappear. We've been working nonstop trying to gain intel on all of this. People on the inside have managed to get us photos, old school of the abuses. These are Americans. This is what we're up against. And when he sees all these things, he decides to tell the woman that he's been with that he's got to take off for a while because uh, there's some things he needs to do. I'm opening my eyes and I'm hopefully the eyes of others, but I can't do it alone, Rosa. I'm going to assemble the Avengers. And so we get Steve back there looking at what really looked like it very looks like the old John Romita art there for the outfit. But I like this image. He's old. He's getting back in the suit, and it just look whether you care about politics of today being put into the stories to tell the story or not. I'm always in for these kind of stories if they're done well. The writing in this is done well. The art is amazing. I love when these kind of stories do have something interesting to say and do. And as cliche as that might be, sometimes I just want fun. Sometimes I like stepping out of canon. Sometimes I like just going down that what if road. And Zdarsky is good at these kind of stories. It's 6 issues. And I like those kind of contained 6 issue stories as long as they're told well by somebody who appreciates the characters. And Zdarsky, as whatever you say about the industry, there are people that really do care about it. And I think Zdarsky's one of them. And so I'm giving this my full thumbs up. I'll probably keep reading this book. I don't know if I'll keep reviewing it. Maybe I'll talk about it at the end. But otherwise, this was again just a little trip into comic books to see if any, I don't know. I just needed something to talk about, and here we are. So if you like this, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe and all that jazz. Otherwise, we'll be back with more content eventually. Hopefully, this is something that you guys liked.